Okay, hello, seems like the stream is started. This is Wolfram. Today I will commentate some Atomar World Championship matches. They started to play a bit early. Today I will commentate some Atomar World Championship matches. They started to play a bit early. I'm seeing some echo. Where it comes from? Okay, I realized. Okay, let's see what they started to play. Okay, some symmetric stuff. Queen was attacking g7 square. Queen is not worth much in Atomar. Okay, this is typical move in such position. So queen can't take on h4 because of rook takes h7, and black can't respond symmetrically anymore because okay, you just win a pawn by taking on h5. Usually h6 is played, but here queen were just exchanged, I think. I'm not sure whether this move is actually better for white, because in the end game this pawn can become a bit weak, while these pawns are much harder to get to the king, but on the other hand sometimes more advanced pawn might be better. Okay, so knights go capture stuff, still equal material, very symmetric position except for this pawn. Okay, just defending pawn, maybe building such board of pawns here so that the king will have trouble reaching those pawns. d5. Well, the knight needs to move or this capture is happening, but why e4 wasn't played? Not sure. What's the purpose of h6 move? Also not sure actually. This is a bit weakens pawn structure. Maybe he wants to put it all on 6 file, 6 rank. Preventing rook exchange and attacking this knight. This all looks quite awkward now. But in general this position still looks quite equal. Oh, and we reached the place where the game is actually continuous. So rook exchange. White's pawn structure is a bit weaker because 3 pawn islands. Black has only 2. So after this exchange, not sure if this is a big issue for white, because king seems a bit closer to the center, and the black pawns are more advanced, so it's more easy to capture with the king. And it is not clear yet how to make a passed pawn. On the other hand, black's position is a bit cramped, so I think it's basically equal. Each side has their own advantages, and who scams in this endgame wins. Doesn't seem like someone have like some big advantage. Oh, okay, this looks interesting, but the rook will still come along. Oh, okay, what if play h5 here? Then the rook might be trapped very hard after h5. Maybe h5 is not super good because king can eventually capture this pawn. It's not like in Atomic when you play h5 and it is super hard to capture this pawn. Okay, so what is going on here? It feels that this pawn will be lost very soon because it's exactly because of this capture. But if white captures now, then this pawn might be an issue for white. You will need to you cannot stop both of these pawns by the king. So you will need to block with the knight, take with the knight. block with the rook, maybe even. No, blocking with the rook is really bad. I don't like this position for white, even though they capture this pawn. But those two pawns are weak, and this pawn is very dangerous. Also, white is down on clock. On the other hand, black king is not very active right now. It's not easy to... Oh, okay, just blundering the bishop. Okay, should be winning for black now easily. Actually, f5 move was not bad because you capture and then this pawn also blocks the rook. Maybe there are some draw scams in this position for white, but it looks very, very good for black. You basically just need to capture all these pawns with the king, and then knight and rook just to win. You can just capture this pawn actually and exchange those two. Oh, giving up the knight. Why not take? The problem is that the rook versus... Okay, this should be winning anyway. Even if captured the knight, there was a pawn left, so rook plus pawn is also win. Okay, here it is very easy to stalemate the king. Just go like that to a1, and then king h3. Oh, actually the king could escape, but they just move. King a2, hey, king a2. King a2 was just stalemate, and stalemate is a win. Okay, this works too. Actually, white king could escape when black king was on b3. You move from b1 to a1 if you really want to stalemate. Okay, let's view rematch. But it was win even if white king would escape, so it didn't matter much. Okay, let's try to move. See YouTube chat because I was a bit in a rush when setting up the stream. So it looks like now I see stream chat. You can write something here, or maybe even better write in spectators chat of the game, so that it will be seen on the stream. Chat is recorded as well on YouTube, so probably not an issue. Okay, what's an opening here? It's quite typical opening. e5 is usually a bit worse than e6 because queen g4 scams and white is up a tempo. Wild Boar asks, what is this game? This is Atomar. If you click the challenge link that is in the video description, you can find the bracket, and there is also a link to Chronotog site there with the rules of the game itself. So basically it's very similar to Atomic, but the king is immune to explosions, which makes it a bit longer in practice because you cannot just raise some king attack and scam the king. Usually it goes straight to endgame where you just try to promote some pawns. But sometimes we see actually checkmates in middle game when someone is not very accurate and allows lots of pieces to achieve the king. Actually, in this position we can see something like that, because these two bishops look at the king's side dangerously. The queens are on the board too, and this rook maybe... Okay, these rooks are most likely exchanged in the end, but we can't rule out anything, right? This pawn, I'm not sure about f5. Generally, if you move f5, f6, f7, there is a risk that the king somehow captures this pawn. But since it is defended by the rook, And also there are lots of pieces that will blow up if the king tries to capture this pawn. This pawn will be actually very unpleasant on f6 or f7. So it's probably not such a bad idea to move f5. Because what else white can do here? They can also attack along the e file. Actually, rook e1 might have been a good move too. Because bishops e6, rook takes e6 is quite lots of material for white. Even queen given for two pieces is a bit of winning material, and rook for two pieces is definitely winning material. But f5 and maybe rook e1 or f6 should be fine too, so white clearly has an advantage. Oh, okay, except queen b6 check and queen takes b2 move might be a good idea for black, just capturing this extra piece because queen is worth only rook and pawn in this game. So, but black didn't play queen b6 yet, and white may notice that soon, that there is such idea. Maybe too busy defending stuff. So knight here, it's a bit annoying for white because this pawn is not more defended by the rook, but on the other hand this knight can be taken at any moment. So the most annoying part is this knight going to e3 probably. Also, game link. You can send game link into the chat probably. Okay, what's happening? Okay, this is a logical move to prevent all knight e3 scams. It's not clear how to prevent them other way. Okay, black has some counter-attacking ideas, right? Oh no. Actually, taking this knight looks quite natural. But maybe king f7 should be played first to prevent f7. Yes, but if king f7 is played, then knight goes to g5. So I guess black didn't really have this option. Yes, so black has slight material advantage, right? Knight for pawn. But this is not for long because here some really nasty stuff happening. So f7, king h7, bishop takes rook, and you need to block with the queen, right? Why white didn't play f7? This is weird. Actually, king can now capture the pawn easily. Not that easily because it is still kind of defended by the rook. If you capture, you blow up the bishop. But f7 is not the thing, for example, in this position. So this pawn is a weakness now, in my view. Not much of a strength. And this pawn is a strength for black actually, because it is not easy to capture it with the king. Black is probably already better in this position. Oh, but maybe not quite, because white have some tactical ideas to promote this pawn. Yeah, this position is better, so bishop e4 was a mistake. A blunder maybe even. So queen. It's just black needs to give up queen for nothing basically. Yeah, this should be really bad. Oh, okay, this this was a huge blunder. Wait, how you play this? Not so. I mean, this is a very weird mistake for an atomic player, but okay. This game can be confusing at times. So now it's clear win for black. Rook just gives absolutely zero chances to do anything, even if all pawns are exchanged. White is just zugzwanged. Yes, now take the king. Okay, what is the score by the way? I don't remember. Let's see. Black wins, so it's 1-1. And let's continue. Let's drop game link into the chat, just in case. in Discord. Okay, let's continue then. Okay, what is this opening? Again, some symmetrical stuff. This game is quite... It is quite annoying in this game that you can play symmetrical stuff in black. It is really hard to punish for that. There are some minor ideas how to punish that. They usually involve giving a check at some point, or like h4, queen takes, h4, rook takes, h7. But in general, there are lots of openings that you just exchange a bunch of pieces symmetrically and get a symmetric equal endgame. Okay, a3. I don't like this move because it weakens pawn structure for white, and on the other hand, bishop b4 is hardly a threat. You threaten nothing. In atomic, this would be a big threat, but in Atomar, you just don't take the threat with this pawn. So why play a3? You can put both of these pawns on these squares, but it makes them a bit closer to black king. Not always a good thing. So I think white could spend this tempo on something better, like developing the knight, for example, or like that. Okay. So white decided not to play symmetrically because knight takes e4, but knight h3 probably was the thing. Knight g4, knight g5, and they exchange even more stuff. This keeps position a bit interesting because it's not clear what this knight is going to do. It actually may be a weakness in this position, especially after d4 or g4, g5, something like that. This again, it's weakens pawn structure a bit. What black wants to do, develop a bishop. This bishop could probably get blocked. But if it gets blocked, white also needs to weaken their pawn structure probably. Well, there are knight h3, knight g5 ideas, but they are met with knight takes h2, and this is just a draw. Okay, knight g4, I assume. Yes, again we saw this idea d4, e takes, and now black has a big weak pawn structure. We saw it in previous game or first game, I don't remember, but for other side, for white. So the problem for white though is this bishop doesn't really defend this pawn because king can capture it and take the bishop too. So yeah, white is getting scammed now. It is very hard to prevent king entering in. The white king is a long way from capturing those pawns. So probably f4 needs to be played sometimes ago, like in this position. f4, but on the other hand, yes, it was not possible to stop black already. Maybe something like b4, f4 needs to be played even earlier to stop them. Yes, this should be winning for black, right? No, it's. I'm not sure this is winning because white should play king d4 in this position actually. It's queen f4, king. Oh, but then bishop e7, right? It's very hard to penetrate black's defense. And white's defense is already penetrated. So what can you do as white? You play something like bishop c4 just to annoy this bishop and try to actually penetrate. Okay, but now white has g3 move. Why not play king f4? I don't understand this. This is still unpleasant. You need to keep the king on d4 square to prevent black entering. Bishop can potentially check white, king on this square. Want to put bishop on h1 or what? This does look like a good idea, to be honest. This is not just a funny bishop, this is super funny bishop on h1, blocked by its own pawn. Oh, but they want to play f4, right? Then just h takes and the structure is weakened really hard. This bishop on h1 looks ridiculous. I just see no way how this position is good for white. But on the other hand, it's not clear. The plan for black is not clear. Why to play b6 actually? Why not just try to give a check from? Oh, yes, because you can give this check here. I missed that idea. But now black is just invading and white cannot invade. Maybe a4, a5 is not such a bad idea. You can just capture that with the king. a4, a5 may be the last idea for white. Okay, maybe not the last. Okay, bishop wants to go to d8. But then white king can go even further and try to scam this bishop, right? I don't think this is a good move for white. Exchanging here is good for black. Or even that, right? Okay, looks like completely winning position for black. Black is just so fast at capturing all those pawns. Just like that. Maybe there are some scams with exchanging everything. And black will have like bishop and pawn versus nothing. This will be a draw. But white for some reason didn't took on en passant. So now king is forever bound to this pawn. Oh, but this is not good for black actually. No, it just looks like a draw. I think should have taken basically. If black would have taken this pawn and then those two, this passed pawn and this passed pawn is too strong for white, they would need to give up the bishops and black can capture this pawn and have these two pawns and bishop. So yes, but now this should be a draw, honestly. The bishop can stop this pawn, the king can capture all this stuff, so and the bishop are different color square, so I don't think black can do really much in this position. Should be just a draw. Okay, the question is Atomic theoretically winning for white? Yes, Atomic is winning for white in very many ways. So you may pick like out of 10 different openings and each of them is winning. Which makes it a bit hard to play, especially for beginners, because you need to know some decent defenses as black. And also it is very hard to play because it is not easy to make a mistake in atomic endgame if you know basics. So if someone has extra pawn in endgames, it is usually just win without any trouble, unlike in Atomar. So in Atomar, if you have extra pawn in endgame, this is nothing. You can lose very easily if you are not accurate, because king can get activated, capture all the pawns, etc. In Atomic, you cannot capture any material without losing your own material. So endgames are much easier to reason about positionally, and extra pawn basically makes it just win, with exception for some really complicated scams. And this also influences opening theory, because like in opening theory you can create threats on king. Using these threats you usually can win a pawn or two. So you need to know tricks for black, how to make the position dynamic so that material doesn't really matter. Like, yes, white has 2 extra pawns, but black has active pieces attacking some kings. I mean, invaded knight maybe, and, or some other positional feature that makes the position really complicated. And then you have a chance to overturn the tables as black, or at least make a draw in atomic. But if you just look at theory with engine, it is just win. The most easiest win is considered to be 2 knights opening, so knight f3, f6, knight c3. There are c6 or knight h6 moves for black there. Both are decent, but both lose to engine, so it's not easy to play, especially when anyone can take engine and memorize some lines as white. And Atomar in this regard is clearly, it looks like a nice game. You cannot really memorize much stuff. That gives you huge advantage. White should have some advantage in this game, but it's probably not really much. So what was play again? E6. This position is a bit double-edged to put pawn on e5. You have more space, but again, this pawn can fall prey. These 2 pawns can more easily fall prey for the king than, for example, white king trying to capture all those pawns. So this should be, I think, still an advantage because we are still in the early middle game when more space is important, but white needs to keep some pieces in this position. Okay, here white gives up material. Why not king f1? Why not just castle? Actually, white can castle under check in Atomar, probably because of bishop d2. Yeah, that was not pleasant. But this must be a good position for black now. Because this positional advantage for white is nothing compared to this pawn. Okay, so this move looks a bit weakening, to be honest. Maybe black wants to move this pawn all the way to h3 and claim that this looks good. Or maybe just play knight h6 at some point when this knight is chased away. But in general, having 2 pawns close to each other is good when you look at the endgame perspective. And not very advanced pawns, because otherwise it becomes easy. The more advanced 2 pawns, the more easier for king is to come from the side and capture them. So this structure, it looks solid, but it's not as solid as in standard chess, for example. Because in standard chess, if you capture one of these 2 pawns, for example, with the pawn, right, then you capture with this pawn in response, and it is still pretty solid. But in Atomar, if you capture, for example, f5 takes g6, then both pawns are disappearing, and h5 pawn becomes much more weaker. So this is not actually as solid as it might look. Okay, now white is given a check. Guess king f8, queen d7, right? There are some threats. If you play knight c6, then knight takes d5. Really looks like unpleasant position for black. So I'd expect it, or white wants more. What is the score, by the way? Oh, it's 1.5 versus 1.5. Very close match. Okay, white blunders this or what? Actually, why not play this immediately? No, this is not a blunder because black actually have queen e8 with check. Yes, but after this it's not very clear who actually benefited from this. Actually looks like black has just extra rook and win in this position. White seriously messed this up. I don't know why not to play. Why not to just play queen d7 in this position, threatening to take on a7 or somewhere. White clearly displayed this. Oh, but black blundered the rook. Nice. It's not all lost for white then. I won't be surprised if in the end Atomar plays and say this is win for white and return to classic chess. It is not probably a win because some of the tournament organizers created an engine for this game using modern machine learning techniques like with neural networks and stuff. They created the engine and most engine games end in a draw. 74% of the game ended in a draw. Unlike Atomic, where most engine games from starting position end in a win, overwhelming majority. So even if engines can't find an easy win, then probably at human level it is never a clear win. So I don't think that Atomar is like, okay, this endgame. Black still have this extra material. No, this is just a draw actually. Even queen, even king and rook versus. Oh, wait, but black captured the pawn. Maybe not that easy. No, this should be a draw. I analyzed some of endgames like this rook plus pawn versus bishop. If king is that close, why blundering the bishop? Excuse me. Okay, well, this is now easy win for black, but it was a draw, to be honest. If the only really good idea for black in the position like that was to cut white king somewhere along f file and try to block with the rook and promote the pawn. But okay, a couple of blunders happens and black still won. Very much. So you can't trust engines here because they mess up in endgames often. If engines mess up in endgames often, then this game certainly won't ever be solved at human level, because humans will blunder in endgames even worse than engines. Okay, so who won previous game? Lasha, so Lasha is ahead. We see clear black advantage right now in this game. So 3 black wins and 1 draw. Lasha is a score ahead, 2.5 versus 1.5. And again we see some symmetrical position. This a3 move that I don't like. f3 I like a bit more because it makes this knight looking a bit awkward. And I really hope that white activates their king a bit early this time. And also this bishop looks quite bad. I don't really understand what is so good about this position of white. You know, black has this weak pawn, but they have very good bishop that protects black's dark squares, right? And so white king is not invading easily in this position. While black king will be invading much more easily because this bishop cannot defend this. Or you need to push your pawns somehow, right? But pushing your pawns make them weaker to the king capture. So this position should be really not super good for white. I think when I commentated 2 games ago, I thought that this position is decent for white because of this weakness, but after seeing how that game goes, I would not. I would prefer black here. Okay, this was an interesting idea because black blocked the bishop somehow. Probably should first develop it and then do that. Or why do that? Or maybe if takes, bishop just goes somewhere. No, king e5 looks like a super good move. King e5. White maybe forced to take, maybe not. But in general, this king is just going super fast to capture those pawns. Just king d4. No, I don't like d4. First you take the square away from your king. Second, this pawn is a weakness. You may try to defend it by the bishop, but white can just block it by the bishop too. I don't think this is a particularly good move. This exchange was totally fine for black, right? You just go and capture those pawns. Maybe white can defend, but bishop standing on d1 is very passive. Now black has passive bishop. Probably it's still a bit better for black. Maybe not. Actually, you need to... how you now capture white's pawn? You need to do something like that, right? But if you move your king on c5 square, you block this bishop from defending the pawn, right? Yes, I see messages. I actually responded to you can't trust engines because they mess up in endgames often. Some time ago already. So yes, I see messages. Okay, what happened? Black, this is also quite a nice idea. Maybe this is how black invades. But yeah, this pawn was just protected by bishop. The spectators chat of the game, well, I see the spectators chat, but there is not much to comment in spectators chat. Okay, let's see what happened. Okay, this would be very nice if not for this bishop, but now white has this strong move. Black king is driven away. Looks nice position for white now, because white king is active, black king is not. Those pawns are weak, cannot even be defended by bishop yet. This looks winning for white, but there can't be draw scums yet. Now I am asked whether what is the rate of rating degradation or deflation. I think you should look at Fasty's rating. I don't think that Fasty's Fast Tsunami rating, Fast Tsunami skill level changed much over all these years, because he is an old player from Fix. So he had a maximal rating of 2862, and now he holds 2400 with some. So maybe maximal that he can reach now is something around 2500. So ratings degraded around 400 points, maybe a bit less. This is my estimation. Probably a bit less than 400 points. Since this was a bit over 5 years, then you can see that it is around 70, 80 maybe points a year. And I didn't notice that this slows down in any way, because I was keeping 2400 very easily in 2019, and now I cannot reach 2400. Really, I just get flagged. And maybe it's just because I am not a strong bullet player, and all tournaments on lichess are now no increment. Okay, white wins this game just as expected after all those mistakes that black made. But I think that was a bad position for black out of the opening. The main black mistake was playing d4, I think. So what is the score now? Lyosha is ahead 2 points now. Clearly favored to win this match. Lyosha actually played some number of games already on Chess Veranda Train, while Natsu only played his previous match versus DePalm. And they are both strong atomic players, so probably it could be guessed that Lyosha is a favorite in this match. Now it's even clearer, so this spam is so annoying. Yes. On the other hand, you can play g5 instead of h6 here, right? Because this is not such a big threat. But I saw some tricks after g5, queen h5, knight h6. There are sometimes queen f3 move, when you both create some threats to capture on f7 and a threat to capture on g5. So I'm not sure that defending with g5 is better than defending on h6 in this game. Also, there is defense by f6, but it also has some flaws, because you I don't remember, by the way. There was something bad with f6. Oh, usually it is bad because it creates queen h5 check and queen takes h7. Maybe not entirely applicable in this position, but like if you play f6 in this position, yes, queen h5 check and queen takes h7. So atomic move h6 looks like the best for me position, but maybe not. Chronotalk creates a new variant to avoid serious spam. Instead creates a game where everyone plays the same opening. I don't quite agree that everyone plays the same opening, just these two particular players play the same openings. Maybe they want to learn these structures better. I don't play the same openings. And it doesn't look like the same someone opening is super best in this game. Unlike knight f3, e3 and atomic. Okay. Also, let's see classical chess, right? Classical chess is not a spam game. There are lots of different openings in classical chess, yet half of all players play London system. London system. What is so good about London system? I don't know, but everybody plays it, right? You can at least say that everybody plays it, although literally it's not so. So I don't particularly think that Chronotalk failed in this regard. But it is there are some moments that I find a bit boring in this game. In the opening, that it is way too symmetrical. So you can play symmetrical stuff and be fine as black. I don't like this. In Atomic you can't play symmetrical stuff and be fine actually. And in standard you also can't play symmetric stuff and be fine. It is very easy to break symmetry in Atomic or standard. Now Atomar much harder, but this particular position is not symmetrical already. Let's analyze it. Isn't knight c3 more common? Then e4, e6 in Atomar, I suppose. I mean, knight c3 is fun to play if black doesn't play knight c6. If black just plays knight c6, it is usually a boring draw. Or scams an endgame. Incompletely equal endgame. So knight c3 is probably more popular, but it's not. I don't feel like it's better than e4 in Atomar. Okay. So black seems to have an advantage in this position because one of these pieces will fall. Pieces are generally much more valuable in Atomar than in Atomic because king can capture pawns unlike in Atomic. The last two matches it's just e4 each game. Again, this is pretty much the same as in standard chess. Who don't play e4 in standard chess? Also, lots of players play. Some other players don't play e4 in Atomar. Like in the EU bar match versus learning variants. Was the e4 spam? Maybe EU bar made e4 spam. e4, e5 symmetry. I think black can play e4, d5, d4, e5, something like that. If e4, e5, I'm not sure this is good for black. But even if e4, e6, it's not entirely symmetrical position, but it is close to symmetrical, right? What is going on? I don't understand. Black's just winning. What happened? White just blundered the rook, right? By allowing the knight in. Actually, in this position, you can just capture the knight with the bishop or the king. And have an... Well, the position is still bad after that. But by taking here and here, white gave up an exchange more. No, this position is completely losing. For white, oh, and if Losha wins this game, he wins the match, right? Because 4.5 he already have. Maybe king c1 was better. The knight c4 probably. Even if knight exchanges for this pawn, should be winning for black. The only thing black should avoid here is exchanging all those pawns. Maybe not that easy to win, right? Stephanie asks, what isn't the score 3.5, 1.5? No, I don't think so. Well, the score is Losha wins, Losha wins, Losha wins. Oh, 3.5, right? Yes, then this is 3.5, 1.5. There will be another game. Black wins. Yes, immediately after this match there will be another match. Royal Maniac versus Vlad. I think Vlad is clear favorite because he already have some experience with Atomar. He is in general stronger atomic player, probably not a worse chess player. So Vlad should be favorite in that. much, but we'll see how it goes. Because Royal Maniac seems to play lots of different variants, so he may adapt to new variants faster than Vlad, but also Vlad plays different variants too, right? Maybe not as good as a Royal Maniac. So what's going on? Knight c3, knight f6. It's okay-ish defense for black, I think. But again, I don't think this is particularly good if compared with knight c3. Black position may get cramped pretty soon. I think this should be just taken. Oh wait, can you play knight b5, knight b4, check, queen must take, and then white also plays c3, knight c2 check, and king just goes to f2. Black is scammed for the whole queen. Because this invaded knight is not even closely as dangerous as in Atomic. You can also play queen e2, knight here takes, and you are up a whole piece. So white can choose between c3 and queen e2. d3, no, d3 I don't like. c3. I would play c3. Dasha agrees. So, but this will not be super easy to get rid of this knight, which is clearly annoying. So white should somehow develop. b4 should probably be played. Maybe bishop e3, but this gives up some material, so I would play b4. a5, right? Maybe b5. Not actually entirely clear how to defend from this bishop c5 check. Knight takes. Maybe just knight e2, knight d4, closing from this check. But after knight e2, there's very unpleasant knight e3. Oh no, knight e3 just king takes e3, right? Exchanging these two knights. I think knight e2 is fine in this position. Maybe knight e1, knight d4. No, stop. Knight e1, just g3. I don't know. If knight takes, well, you exchanged good invaded knight for knight and pawn. Maybe that's not such a big advantage for white. What is the material relation? Okay, extra queen for the pawn. And this knight will probably take some material. No, this should be advantage for white, of course. So this rook is probably going to e1 or here. Can you take? The rook can go where? If rook e1, just rook takes e1. If rook e2, just king takes e2. It's not so clear how to make progress as black. Okay, nice move. So black can capture, but after that white has material advantage and no drawbacks in this position. This is so smooth. This rook may fall prey for the king in some lines. So it doesn't feel like putting rook here is a particularly good idea. Rook takes f3 maybe. I think rook is worth a bit less than bishop and pawn. Actually, it seems like black is attacking despite lack of material, and white clock is very low. Interesting. Maybe I am misevaluating this position. Still not clear how this attack converts into something substantial. We just play f4. What's going on? Why white doing that? Just blundering the knight. White is very low on clock. Scams incoming. Oh, after f4 takes. What's going on? What is material here? Queen for knight and some pawns. Actually, after knight takes rook, might be better for black already. It was very hard to understand what happened, but white got in serious time trouble. I would probably took the rook, why not? The rooks are strong in games. And this knight is already done its invading knight work. So, to be honest, taking the rook looks like a no-brainer. But but black still avoids taking the rook for some reason. Maybe the moves that they play are even better. Already capturing this pawn, but the rook is now saved. Maybe not for long because this pawn is super dangerous. White also can give a bunch of unpleasant checks, but black is very favored in this position already. Those pawns are so hard to stop, and queen is not super strong. So at best white should hope for perpetual checks or some king blunders or something like that. Wait, isn't this checkmate? No. Knight. Oh wait, this pawn. Right. Okay, the rook needs to capture this. Still looks quite good for black. Knight b5 to escape from perpetual. Why not play knight b5? Black is better in this position, no? So you have two pieces for rook, which is better, and queen for 3 pawns, which is almost equal. On the other hand, white king can try to capture pawns, but at the moment it can't do that. It's very hard to evaluate this position also. But Natsu needs to win, right? He is in a very unpleasant match situation. Oh, I don't like this defense. Because rook, the queen... Oh, on the other hand, white didn't have checks, right? What's happening? We just d2? Oh no. I think black should keep knight here to protect d4 square. Oh, I don't like this move. Really don't like. But seems fine, right? Okay, probably it was fine. Now... Oh, but this is just a draw. No? Can black capture this pawn? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is... No, stop. This is win. This is win. Because black puts their king on e4 square, so it's not an asset. White king is in square. This is very cool scam by Natsu. But it was very close. I think that was some easier way to win this. Maybe not. So 4.5, 2.5. Two pieces proved, and some pawns proved stronger than queen. just as expected. Oh, that position was totally resignable. You cannot even scam with capturing the king because you have only king yourself. It's very hard to blunder in queen versus king and endgame. Someone took a break, right? No. King and queen versus king is very easy. I drew once. The problem with king and queen versus king in Atomar compared to Atomic is that in Atomic, when you have connected king, uh, you are protected from checks. And in Atomar, you are not protected if you're connected to an opponent king. So you can just, I don't know, escape from. You can disconnect the king very easily in Atomar. Because if you try to run for the opponent king, you just get to, into the queen ray at some point and get captured. And after the kings are disconnected, it's also a trivial way to give a stalemate. So I don't know what is so hard about checkmating with king and queen. There is some ping in Discord. Okay, let's see what's happening because I missed half a game. Okay, they play this opening again. Don't know what is so good about this opening. Especially considering how many games nuts are lost as white. This position looks nice as white. Black looks a bit cramped. Maybe white should activate the king somehow already, because the queen can do nothing. Just prepare for endgame where white have lots of advanced pawns and can capture black pawns. It seems not very good for white to open all the positions so that black king can go and capture everything. But maybe you can create threats with two bishops to the king, but I'm not sure. Oh, this looks like a weakness for white. If this pawn would be blocked by rook or knight, this would be a strength. But when it is blocked by another pawn, this may be a very long-term weakness. It will be so easy to capture with the king, unlike this pawn. So I don't like a6. But we'll see how it plays. I am not 2300 in this game. Probably still don't understand many positional stuff, so maybe it's not that bad. F5, super unpleasant move. Maybe just knight g6, g4 I mean. I would prefer this position as black. Maybe f6 is white's only chance to create some problems. But otherwise, there are no problems for black and there is this problem for white. Actually, I don't like castling. Maybe rook f8 was better. Because king is now very far away from this pawn. Okay, what's happening? Black is to move, right? So yes, it seems that e file is key file in this position, but just bishop b2 maybe. Is it so dangerous to allow queen in? Probably it is dangerous because there are two rooks also ready to get in. Some scams. Even if queen e2, c4, queen takes b2, queen is totally worth less than bishop and rook. So queen e2 is probably a big threat now. Maybe you can just play f6, queen e2, f7, king h8, and sacrifice, or maybe, no, you can give a check. That's nice, but this rook goes to e, e8, right? Maybe bishop takes a7 will be unpleasant at some point. And then this pawn actually is not that bad. But you need to give up material for that. And black will probably also can give up this knight, so maybe this pawn is not such a big weakness as I thought, but it's also not a strength. Okay, what's happening? Check, check. Black already has perpetual check. No. Black could give a perpetual check. Actually, draw is not bad for black, considering the match situation, and considering that this is black after all. This position also doesn't look like it's particularly good for black. Maybe it is. Wait, where white lost the bishop? Or like that. Yes, maybe it is already good for black actually. But white still has f pawn, which may become an issue for black at some point. Not when the queen is on e4. Basically, this queen is a bit scammed. How to escape all the rook threats? Oh, like that, right? Why not take the queen? Can black play queen h8 and pretend they have extra queen? Just knight, yeah, 92 just wins. On the spot. Okay, I think that's all. How many wins for Lasha? 1, 2, 3, 4. Always black actually. All black games are wins for Lasha, and there was one draw. No, so match is not ended yet. Ah no, and one white win and one draw. So it's 5.5. Yes, GG's. And there is also Royal Maniac match that must have started now, right? Is it? It is not started. it was scheduled to 3 p.m. UTC, right? Probably they decided to wait until the end of this match. So yes, Lasha won 5.5, 2.5, if I'm not miscalculating. Oh, basically Natsu just lost all his games as white. Literally. Because of playing the same opening, which is probably not super good and maybe overpricing a bit with the pawns. Which is also not super good because the king can capture pawns that are too far. But also just some positional mistakes, like here opening e5 and then black just invaded and created a very unpleasant position. But even like here, just take on a7 is better than taking on d4 a few moves later. Because taking on d4 opens up a new file for black rooks to invade. And taking on a7 creates such big threat with this pawn that probably black will need to give up this knight. And also it opens up this file for the rook, which would create counterattack as white. Okay, let's see Vlad match. It is not started yet as far as I see. Let me take a small break then. Okay, let's continue our stream since the game is started. Actually not started yet, but they already created a game at least. So it probably starts very soon. Actually, these two pairs are going. So the winner here is Lyosha, and the winner of this pair goes to Lyosha. And they could play a match immediately after that if they want. Then the winner will play the winner of this bracket. I hope this will be me. But anything could happen in this scammy game. What is going on? They started playing d4. Pawn square opening. Okay, white made it Now, if black just takes symmetrically, then white wins material, right? Just taking the queen, or queen d7. What is this? Can you really play this? So white would like to take this, the bishop, but then queen d2. The bishop is returned. Can they play like bishop h6? Probably not still, because bishop takes, but then bishop takes g7. There is lots of material, actually. So it is hard to calculate, but it looks like piece and rook for pawn and queen. Is this better for white or black? It is very hard to say, to be honest. It's probably about equal. If bishop takes c2, bishop takes g7. But it's certainly not good for black if they take on h6. So I would take right. And Vlad decided so. Yes. Oh yes, and there is also this move. That is just knight h3, right? Allowing taking like that is not good for white, because queen is worth less than 2 pieces. Okay. So we have an interesting imbalance here. Wait, why? No, it's just queen for rook and bishop, right? No, then this is better for white still. I miscalculated, right? Yeah. This is better for white anyway. So I think that bishop f5 was a bad move. Okay, black develops stuff. I believe this material relationship should be good for black, or good for white. But of course queen can create some scams. Especially together with the rook, they can attack the king pretty hard. And black king is activated now. Two rooks also can create threats on king and on queen too. So both players need to be very careful. What other ideas? Probably black queen can go. Where black should put their queen? This doesn't look like a good square, right? Okay, black position is very weird, to say the least. Probably king d2 is a good move to prepare rook c1 and maybe king going to capture all those pawns. I would play king d2. Maybe f4 is even better to ensure that this... Oh, this is weird now. Interesting. Now black will have this very nice pawn, which is hard to stop. Maybe actually here, maybe rook e2 and somehow put the king on e1 and free the rook was an idea. But it wasn't easy to do, actually, to put the king on e1 after that. Wait, this position is already quite interesting for black, because white almost lost a rook, right? This rook is now not playing. And also this king is quite active. Black also have a queen that should soon be very dangerous soon. The only problem for black right now is that this knight takes lots of squares away from the queen. And this rook is not playing. Black needs to activate the pieces somehow. No. Allowing d7 is not good for black. Why not just take rook d8, queen f5? Not sure. maybe just rook d7, b5, rook c7. But I would think that exchanging a rook for queen was better for black than this. Because here you just allow almost exchanging pawn for rook. Queen takes b. What if just queen takes b2? Queen takes b2. Looks pretty nice because this pawn was exchanged for the rook then. Oh, nice scam. But but it doesn't work because this pawn is unstoppable now. Oh no, it's stoppable. Wait. Yeah, that's cool, but it's still not clear because black needs to spend some tempi to capture this pawn. Then black will block this pawn on h8, but there is more pawns. The problem now, they should be winning for black already. Why king is not going to capture this pawn? Okay, maybe it's okay. But no, this is already good for white. Well, this is really insane. So this position looks winning for no, is it winning for white? Probably just a draw. Because everything is exchanged and then king probably catches up b pawn. But white is definitely in advantage in this position. King should go quickly capturing this pawn, right? Capture this pawn. And this is the first game in the match. It was super interesting. But it is a draw now. Unless some scams again. Just pin this queen. Pin this queen and end the game. Yeah, or exchange. Doesn't matter. What is this? What is this? Why black just doesn't make a draw? Does black expect to win this position somehow? I don't understand what are they doing. Okay, the first game ended in a draw, so half, one half versus one half. But let's write score in the chat. But first, everyone who watches the game sees it. Second, it will be seen on my stream. Third, I will not forget about what the current score is. That position was absolutely winning for black at some point. I think that black should just they should go for a h7 pawn instead of trying to capture those pawns. Because if they would go to h7 pawn, then the queen would be unpinned and can also block the passer that black creates on the queen side, could defend b7 pawn, etc. So freeing the queen was very important in my view. Maybe I'm just wrong and it was a draw anyway. But I would definitely go for h7 pawn. But as you see, even just queen versus several pawns endgames are not trivial. Usually you can't lose as queen often. Sometimes you can even lose as a queen, but that's really not super often. But draw is a likely outcome, unlike atomic or chess. Wow. Allowing bishop takes f2 to create a queen. I would take probably. Because you exchange lots of material for the queen. Wait, what is this? This is just a bad move. Why not play queen Oh, because white? No, I don't understand. So why not just play queen e7, queen, queen f8? Oh, because queen somehow exchange and then rook starts checking and rook takes on c7. But I am not sure why this was bad. This position should clearly be worse for black. So it was a very weird queen sack. Now white can maybe queen g7, queen e6 mate is on the table, giving up the rook. Black plays this very weird. It should be completely win for white at this point. But we already saw how completely win position get drawn. No, this is just so completely win. White has rook and queen to cut off black king. It is really hard to not win this position, only allowing to create some dangerous passers here. The king just stays in front of those pawns. And then you do all the stuff necessary with your queen and rook. There is an idea of knight d6, right, knight d6. Knight takes f5. There is not much to commentate in this position. Just a dead win. There is some way how white can blunder this position away. If they try to give linear mate using queen and rook while queen defending rook, if they stand on next squares, then the king can just capture both rook and queen. Such scams happen sometimes, but I don't think this time. So the score is now like that. Vlad is winning. Now white Vlad got black pieces. There are no stalemate tricks in Atomar because stalemate is a win in Atomar. There are only tricks win with attacking king. There are tricks with capturing both the, the checking piece and the defending piece. There are some very cheap tricks, much cheaper than stalemate. Okay, this opening is good for black, I think. I played some games versus Dandan in this opening also with b5, a4 stuff. I think a6 is better than b5 after those games. But maybe engine would laugh at my evaluation here. Queen h5 is a weird move. Knight h6 usually should be played because queen can take on f7 now. Oh, wait, what's happening? I would take on d2, why not? Just queen takes d4 looks nice. And there is no much alternative how to defend from all knight threats. Maybe e6. Just queen takes d4 looks like no-brainer. Queen d4. What's the purpose of this move? I suppose white just takes. Okay, but now black can take on b2, right? Queen takes f7 looks like a natural move here. And probably black takes on b2 and knight takes one of these two pawns. It will be roughly equal endgame. Probably with a bit of advantage for white. Yes, knight should take on c7 next. Can there be checkmate? Oh, maybe just queen e4. Yes, I missed that move. Queen a4. But anyway, you take on g2 and you capture only so much material. So yes, I would take on g2. What is this? This just gives up a tempo. White would... Well, maybe not. Hard to say whether this gives up a tempo. But should force white to take. Oh no. Interesting. f3. Yeah, that surely looks like black misplayed. Oh wait. Now it attacks both b2 and h2 square, but maybe white has some tricks. Yes, there is this check. Now king goes 7 and now very weird position. Not sure what is the best move. Just f takes g4. But they don't want to make any captures for some reason. They want to make it even more wild. I like wild positions. This knight needs to be evacuated. And then black has knight b4. So maybe knight should play knight d5 really is a move. To prevent knight b4 winning some material. Maybe there is check. Just give up the knight. Oh no. Just missed that black can capture the knight with the king. Yeah. Very unfortunate. White still have two bishops, but this is not. Why play bishop h3 if you could play bishop c8? Blocking this rook, I don't understand. Okay, but black may be a bit too brave with moving those pawns like that. Because king will be so much easier for the king to capture all this stuff. Can play bishop g5. No, well, why not play bishop c8? I don't like this. Bishop c8, please. Bishop c8, right. Just king takes e4. Oh my god, just blundering the king. King takes e4 was perfect move. Why why move bishop? Maybe just misclick. I don't know. Okay, seems like Vlad is winning. Two and a half just versus just a half. Just king takes e4. It's perfectly fine position for white yet. Even though white is exchanged down, but the king is so active, should be at least a draw for white. Because black clearly misplayed this when moved the pawns like that. You should first develop the rooks, then start moving pawn, like scam white king so that it can't move. Then you start moving past pawns. Black just started moving pawns. It was not a good decision in my view, but white just blundered the king in the end. Okay, so what's happening? Hard to evaluate this opening again. It should be roughly equal. After d6, I maybe like it a bit for black better, because first knights should be generally better in closed positions than black's bishop is good, while white has two bishops which are not so good in closed positions, and one of them would be bad. But in this position, there are just two good bishops. White again Vlad plays with the pawns. He advances them very much, but it may not be super good in this game, unlike Atomic, where pawns really create some threats. Okay, allowing b6 was bad. Probably black would need to play b6 for first. Yes, but yes, this is nice scam by Vlad actually. It was not easy to see what to do. So black gave up the piece for a pawn. Should be better position for white now. Slightly better. I think should still be a draw, just based on how easy it is to mess up. But yes, but it is actually black may mount some attack. We just h takes g4. And what is the next move for black? h4. You can open the king like that. There are lots of pieces yet, so opening the king might not be a super good idea. On the other hand, you should probably admit that this bishop is not super good for white. While this bishop is much more active for black, it will probably go to h3, f1 at some point. So maybe black already made some nice progress in this position. And it is probably around equal considering the material situation. Okay, white really should take this. No, you just don't allow h2. I don't like. Maybe black can even take here and passant. Play h2 after, but on the other hand this allows rook h2, right? I would really like to take this, because otherwise this bishop looks quite weird. Yes, after this move white can play rook h2, but still this rook is quite scammed. This move I don't like. You do not give such a good bishop for a pawn, to be honest. It's not clear how black can invade using the g5. Actually, the queen will be lost to a rook, probably. No. It's very weird progress in this position, but this rook is quite scammed, and so probably the play will switch to queen side. It's not clear how this knight is invading. Where this knight goes next, right? I don't see any move. So the play should really switch to queen side. If white takes, then a rook occupies the c file, and there are some nasty threats rook can create, so white naturally doesn't take. Try to use weakness on light squares. Maybe queen e8 was a good move to prevent king moving in. Now king b5, king queen e8, king b6. And king takes b7 is so annoying threat actually. A queen can defend this pawn. No, this position is better for black. No, just take the rook, take the rook. Then second rook goes, then you exchange queen for rook. Yes, maybe this check is... No, I don't like this check. You allow king to block this stuff. Maybe. Or maybe c3 is a move. I would take this rook first. You take this rook first because you need to win material. Okay, maybe this move is even better. In any case, you move c3 at some point, right? c3. It is not so easy for the king to stop those pawns. Maybe rook a7. I would play rook a7. Very tricky position. Why not play c3? Oh, no, no, no. Allowing this is super bad for black. Queen takes rook is the only move, I believe. You cannot allow taking on b7. c3, why not c3? I don't understand. c3 in this position was so nice move. No, allowing white to block like that is very suspicious. Both of these rooks are trapped now. Maybe just queen c8. Queen c8 should just win. Just promote new queen. Yes, maybe giving some promote the queen. This should be totally win for white, unfortunately. I thought black's position was good at some point, but Vlad, of course, understands atomic patterns a bit better, and also has some. Okay, what I wanted to say. I was distracted by Discord chat. Yes, I said that Vlad understands atomic patterns but has some experience with this game already, so it's not super amazing, but super surprising, but I expected some more fight maybe from Roy. So what is the score right now? Ready, 3.5 for Vlad. this this endgame looks like a total draw. One king maybe can capture all the pawns a bit faster than another, but there is so much drawish potential in pawn endgames. It should not just be a win for one side. There are always scams though. Roy already misplaying that actually. Maybe not. Or Vlad pushes pawns a bit too bravely, maybe. This looks like a more solid structure for white. Maybe not. In general, But how any side makes any progress? If you start to push your pawns to undermine opponent structure, you also may create some weaknesses in yours. Okay, this looks like a good idea for black. Just take, I think. Take on g2. His king here. Let's just capture this pawn. No. First of course capture this. Capture this. Yes, and this is just dead draw. No, wait. Can black move this pawn first? No, this is just dead draw. Just as expected. Black is a bit faster capturing. No, wait. Scam. Wait, wait, wait. This is scam. I didn't expect this. Yeah, this is total scam. I think there was a way to draw this. Now this is win for black. Wait. Nice scam. White should have played c3, I guess. So that black also spends more time capturing this stuff. Okay. Absolutely dead drawn position. And that's in a win for Vlad. Vlad is now 4.5. Did he play c4? Yeah, c4. Probably not. Just an ordinary move. Just for some reason c4. Nobody plays. What if you reply knight c6 for c4? Probably knight c3. No, this might be better for white actually. Knight c6, knight c3, knight here, knight here. Then knight gives a check, and you are forced to give up the queen for this check. Oh, but there is... Yes, but black also loses the queen, so maybe it's just okay. Not so clear. Also, white has queen a4 moves, probably giving up the queen for rook and pawn, so should be fine. Okay, what happened? Some exchanges in the center. Now the position become quite sharp. This bishop doesn't defend this pawn. It doesn't defend this pawn. Oh, again, scammed by king. Scammed by king. Now should be easy win for Vlad. But I say that every game, right? And then we have some scams, and it is not easy win for Vlad anymore. But anyway, it ends in Vlad win. Looks like king d4, and then knight goes somewhere. King captures pawn. You can't really give a check to this king. Oh no, you can give check for b6. So maybe it's not so easy to capture this pawn. Maybe just play knight a4 and exchange this pawn. And exchange everything that you can exchange and get a win endgame. Even a draw is totally fine for Vlad. Just allowing all this. Here I don't even see how black can create a decent position. GG's. GG's, it seems. Seniors. So maybe Lasha and Vlad will play now. The score was 5.5 versus 1/2. I could not say that this was without any chances for Roy, but Roy missed all his chances and blundered the king. a couple of times. So yeah. Losha says that he will go to sleep soon. So okay. Looks like they will play their match later. So I will probably end the stream now. I see no more questions. Hopefully it was interesting to watch. And tomorrow I will also play Atomar. It will be 6 p.m. UTC versus Cabbage. Should be an interesting match too. I will stream it too. And also I play Atomic 4 hours earlier against Natsu, so don't miss it. I think both matches will be interesting. Natsu is a strong Atomic player. Cabbage should not be too weak in Atomar too. So goodbye.